Looking for a fun and unique card? How about these patchwork border cards? They are so much fun to make. I've got so many tips and tricks to making these cards so easy. Hello, welcome everyone. I'm Connie Stewart with simplysimplestamping.com. And today's Tuesday tip video is a really creative way how we can maybe use up some scraps and create some beautiful patchwork cards. Guys, this little border of patchwork is beautiful. It's a great way to create with just using just a few little supplies. Before we jump into the cards, I do want to let you know you don't need to write down any measurements. I've got them all for you in my free download, something I love to do for my viewers. So here you're going to have the supply list, all the measurements, cutting and scoring, some great photos. And if you scan the QR code or click here, either one, it's going to bring you right back to the video. So if you need a little refresher on how I did anything, you'll have that there. And friends, if you are in the United States, I would love to be your Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. Here's a supply list of everything I used on my cards today. Just follow that link and you can order any of those items. Friends, I always love being your Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. It's what allows me to do what I do. So thank you so much. All right, with that, we're going to start to create our first card. How about we start with this card here? So we're going to do some stamping today, my friends. And on this card, you notice the colors. I wanted to bring in some great fall colors. And I think this one is just perfect. So we've got Blackberry Bliss, Highland Heather, and Calypso Coral. My card base is Blackberry Bliss, 11 inches by 4 inches, scored at 5.5. And you're going to want to burnish that down. I have 2 pieces of Highland Heather, 4 by 5.25. You're going to hear one on the front of your card, and the remaining one will go here on the inside of the card. So for this card, we're going to be featuring the Impressions of Bloom bundle because we are going to be using just a little bit of die cutting on this one. I have 2 pieces of basic white we're going to be stamping on. So this is my patchwork border piece, and it is 2 inches by 6 3/4. And then this is really just a scrap, but it's about a 3.5 by 2.5. We're going to stamp a flower and some leaves. So feel free to grab a scrap if you need to. I'm going to get a little scratch paper here underneath me, and I'm going to start with my Highland Heather. So you notice this is a 2-step stamp. So we have the detail stamp and then we have the solid stamp. I'm actually going to start with the detail stamp, and I'm just going to randomly stamp this in Highland Heather here on that piece of cardstock. This was the 2 by 6 3/4. Now I can come in with the solid stamp, and I'm going to ink that up in Highland Heather. I'm going to stamp off once and then stamp that on top of my flower. So we get that little bit lighter color. So I'm going to repeat that on all 4 of these flowers. We're going to repeat that same flower here on the side of the basic white. So let me stamp that off. And then we have room for some leaves as well. Calypso Coral is my next flower. Again, I just thought this was perfect for fall. So I'm going to basically just kind of come in and fill in. This is all going to be chopped up, so I'm not too worried about perfection. Now I'll come in with the solid stamp, just like before. I'm going to stamp off once, and then I can stamp on my flower. Now a little old olive so we can stamp some leaves. Friends, these are going to go the exact same way. We're going to start with the detail stamp, and we're just going to kind of fill in anywhere we need a little bit of green. If they overlap a little bit, that's fine. We're not at all worried about that. Now we can come in with the solid stamp, and we can go right on top. I need 2 leaves. These are the ones that we're going to die cut. So this is going to kind of give our greeting on the front just a little bit of oomph. So we're going to stamp 2 of those on this little scrap of white that we had. And now we're going to fill in the centers of our flowers with some Blackberry Bliss. You know the drill. We're going to start with the detail. We'll stamp that one first. We're going to come in with the solid, stamp off once, And that way we get a little softer blackberry bliss. So friends, I'm going to do that on all of my Highland Heathers. We're going to do that with the larger center stamp. And then you notice we have some smaller ones. So those will go inside my Calypso coral flowers. I have those done. I'm going to move them out of the way. And because I'm doing all my stamping, I want to go ahead and work on the inside of my card. So for this one, since I have my Blackberry Bliss out, I'm going to stamp "I appreciate you" as my sentiment. And then I'm going to go ahead and add another Calypso coral flower here in the bottom right corner. I'm going to add the Blackberry Bliss there in the center. And now just a couple of leaves with my old olive. We're going to do our last stamping, and that is our greeting for the front of our card. Now, this little piece of basic white, it's kind of an odd little size, 2 7/8 by 1 5/8. So we're going to do a little stamping in Calypso coral. So I'm going to take my thanks. And when you stamp this, go all the way kind of over to the right side, because that flower that we are going to die cut, that's going to go right here. So we want to kind of stay over to that side. In our Blackberry Bliss, we're going to say "so very much." Our stamping is done. So let's go ahead. We're going to add this to the inside of our card. It's all ready to go. I do love that extra layer because we see the Blackberry Bliss, we see the Highland Heather, we see the white, and then of course we have that Calypso coral flower. So it really blends nicely. Are you ready to learn how to do the patchwork? All right, let's jump in. You're going to need your paper trimmer because we're going to trim this down into 4 pieces. So with the 2 inches up at the top, we are going to cut this to 1 inch. So we're going to have 2 pieces that are 1 inch by 6 3/4. You're welcome to put both of these together for this next part. The paper trimmer will cut through both of them easily. I'm going to line that up at 4 inches. I'm going to cut. That's going to give me 2 pieces that are 1 inch by 4, 2 pieces that are 1 inch by 2 3/4. And let me tell you, it's so much easier to stamp that strip rather than try to stamp on all of these little pieces. Let's go ahead and kind of lay these out so we can decide how we want these to look on our card. So you're going to put the 4-inch ones up at the upper left and the bottom right. And then the 2 3/4 pieces are going to go right here. So if you want to move things around, like I've got 2 of the Highland Heather flowers together, so I might want to switch that around. I think I can switch that around. Remember, it was random stamping, so there's really not a right or wrong. So I like how that looks. I like the feel. We're ready to adhere these down. Now, this is my Tuesday tip for today. Whenever you are adding something, that you need to make sure everything's going to line up correctly. So here's my tip. We're going to add this to the upper left corner, but I'm not going to press it down. All right. I'm not going to press it down. I'm going to take the other 4-inch piece. I'm going to lay that in the bottom right corner. Again, we're not going to adhere it down. And now I can adhere my 2 3/4 inch pieces. And now you can kind of see why I don't like to press anything down, because if I need to adjust anything, this is the time to do it. So it looks like maybe just this one needs to come over just a skosh. And the others look pretty good. So when you're happy with it, you can give that a press. Remember that little greeting. You can see why I had that odd size, but it fits perfectly. And we'll add that to the center. All right, the last thing we have to do is that flower. This is where the bundle's going to come into play. So let's bring in the dies. So we're just going to use the outline of the flower. All right, so we'll die cut that. And look at this. Stamp it up. Thank you so much. You've given us 2 leaves. So that means we can add those, die cut 1 time. Just like we did before, I do kind of like to lay my flower and my leaves out so I kind of know where do I want them. You definitely don't want them to hang off the card in any way. So kind of decide where you want those to go. And then you can just add those to the back. Now it's time for some Stampin' Dimensionals. I'm using the regular size and the small. So I'll add a couple of the small ones to the leaves. And I have about 3 of the regular size ones there on the back. We'll add that to our card. And of course, no card is complete without some bling. So I'm going to use the In Color Flat Pearls. This is the 2025-2027. I'm going to take a large one and I'm going to go right kind of in the center of my greeting. Then I'll take a couple small ones and just go on either side. And there we go. Look at that. Isn't that just a gorgeous card? And being able to stamp one time and then chop it up to create that border is awesome. All right. Would you like to see one maybe made with designer series paper? I've got some more tips for you. Don't forget about the free download I have for you that goes along with today's video. So when you're ready to recreate the patchwork cards, you'll have your measurements, your cutting, everything that you need to know so you can recreate. Friends, you're going to find this free download at simplysimplestamping.com. Look for the October 21st, 2025 post. I'm going to create a sympathy card today, and I'm using the Painterly Pears Designer Series paper, and that's a Designer Series paper pair as well. So just a gorgeous card, but like I said, I've got tips for you, so let's jump in. My card base, I decided to do it a little different. So this is an 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4.25. So you see any size of your cardstock, that's going to work great for this card. I have 2 pieces of Secret C, 4 by 5.25. And if you remember how we did it on our last card, 1 on the front and 1 on the inside. Now let's bring in our designer series paper. You can see it does not use a lot. So this is a 5.5 by 3-inch piece. If your paper has a pattern, you're going to want it to go landscape versus portrait. All right. So now we're going to bring in our paper trimmer and let me show you how to chop this one. We're going to cut this with the 3 inches up at the top. We're going to cut it into 3 strips that are 1 inch. We'll cut one down to 4. We'll cut another one down to 4. Those 2 little pieces are scrap. And then our last piece, we're going to cut it in half to 2 3/4. So those will be equal pieces. Now we're ready to add them to our card. Just like we did before, we are going to lightly add our designer series paper. Remember, I always like to start with the longest pieces. So we'll add those at the top left, bottom right. Now we can add our side 2 3/4 by 1. I'm happy with that. So I'll press that down. Now it's time to do our stamping. I'm going to be using Peace on Earth. So we have a With Deepest Sympathies and Heartfelt Prayers. We're going to stamp that in the Old Olive ink. So let's start here with our greeting. And here we're going to stamp just like we did before. We want to kind of stick to the right side because we are going to add a focal image on the left. Now I'll come in with Heartfelt Prayers. And we'll stamp that there on our, this was the 3 3/4 by 5. We're going to bring in another piece of the designer series paper and the matching dies. So we're going to need the large pair, this little set of double pairs, and then we're going to need the leaves. Now I've got a little trick for you, and that's this one right here. All right, so I look at that and I go, what a waste. I can't get all of those pairs. You know what? It's all we need. So we're going to die cut that one. And don't you love that the dies match the paper? We'll go ahead. We're going to grab this large pair. And oh, what do you know? We have just exactly what we need for our leaves. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to kind of trim this out first. As I trim, I want to save that other double set of pairs because, you know, I might want those for something else here a little later on. So some tricks for die cutting this. It will all fit. So if you lay your pieces just right, you're going to be able to die cut this again in one big swoop. So you can see, we'll line up that one. We've got our stem and our leaves. Whoops. And just like that, we've got them all on there. So we can die cut this all at one time. So I've run those through, and like I said, got to do it all at one time. And this is the one I wanted you to notice. It's just a little odd, but check it out. We have a great use for that. So we're going to take those pairs. That's the straight edge. Look at what we're going to do. Like it was meant to go there. We're going to add that to the inside of the card. Do you love that straight edge? It just worked out perfect. All right, let's add our greeting to the center of our patchwork. We're now going to add a little adhesive. I'm going to use my glue because it's just a really narrow little spot. We're going to add that to the top of my pears. Now listen, if you don't have the dies, these could easily be fussy cut. Really, they really are not a difficult one to do at all. We're going to add our pear with Stampin' Dimensionals. I've got about 5 of them on there, and we're going to add that right next to our greeting. Let's bring those flat pearls back in. But this time we're going to use the Secret C pearls, just like we did before. The big one in the middle, 2 small ones on either side. And there we go, a beautiful sympathy card. So the cards can be made with designer series paper, or you can easily hand stamp your own. I mean, it's whatever you have on hand. How much time do you have? This really didn't take that much longer, but I love just the options that we have with either that gorgeous paper or with our fabulous rubber stamps. Thank you everyone so much for joining in today. Hey, if you enjoyed the video, would you give me a thumbs up on YouTube? That is always appreciated. And if you have not subscribed, why not be a subscriber? Click the subscribe button. If you ring the bell, YouTube will let you know whenever I'm back with a new video. And if you are looking for a really unique and fun community, go check out my YouTube membership. This is where we have a great time creating some amazing fun folds together, nice and slow. Not to mention, you can also get diagrams for all of my videos and even tutorials for all the videos. Just click the join button right next to the subscribe button and you can read all about it. Well, my friends, thank you again for being here. I always look forward to stamping with you. So until next time, have a great day. Bye-bye.